Hey guys, it's Lily. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week. I have been away from YouTube for a couple of weeks now, and that's just because I've had a lot going on. We had a camping trip that we took with a couple of friends, and that was really fun. We went to one of the springs here in Florida, and we got to camp there for 2 nights and 3 days. It was actually a lot of fun, and the weather was actually perfect. It was like in the 40s and 50s while we were there, so we weren't sweating all day, which was wonderful. We got to go kayaking down the river. We unfortunately didn't see any alligators, which I was expecting to see, but other than that, the camping trip was wonderful. Then I came back home and I had to leave on a work trip, but it was to New York, which was a lot of fun, and I just came back yesterday, so I'm trying to catch up on plant chores and just everything else that accumulated in the last couple of weeks, one of which is making a YouTube video, because I do want to keep up with the channel, and I want you guys to have content to come back to see every week, so I'm gonna try to do a better job of having content already made for those weeks when I have to take a week off. But you know, you live and you learn. It's only like what, my 2nd month doing this, so hopefully I'll get the hang of it eventually, and if not, it's just a hobby, so I'm trying not to stress about it too much or take it too seriously, because then it's not fun anymore. So with that being said, I thought today we could just have like a quick little fun video of me showing you a few of my favorite Hoyas right now. And I say favorite just because they're currently doing great and they look wonderful, not because they're in my top 5 favorite Hoyas that I would take if the building caught on fire. So I will do, I think it's 2, 4, 6 Hoyas today that I want to share with you, so hopefully you enjoy it. So today I have picked 6 different Hoyas to show you today. I picked 3 that are really big and 3 that are kind of small but have been very impressive for me to grow in the last few months. And then I picked one weird plant, and by weird I mean it's not an aroid and it's not a Hoya, but I've had that plant for now I think a year and a half, and it's just really weird. It's doing wonderful. It looks absolutely gorgeous and I'm just really proud of it. So I will leave that one for the end, and hopefully you enjoy it as much as I do. But the first Hoya that I picked today is one of Rick's hybrids. It's a Hoya RHM 2021, which is a VIOLA CALLISTOPHYLLA hybrid, and it has these like super beautiful waxy yellow flowers. And I'll put a picture from that Rick posted a while ago on the video so you can see the bloom. I think I mentioned this before, but one of the first things that drew me to Hoyas, or actually the first reason I got drawn into Hoyas, was the blooms. So this is one of those that you just never tire of seeing. I've never gotten mine to bloom, but I have seen Rick's in bloom and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm really excited to grow this baby out so it gets really big and it gives me a peduncle hopefully soon. It doesn't have any now, but I've only had this Hoya for 3 months. So I'm really excited to see it grow. As you can tell, the leaves are just absolutely huge. I mean, look at this leaf. Hopefully it focuses on the video, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It has that thickness that you're used to with Callistophila leaves and the dark veins, but the leaf shape it's super pointy. It's long and pointy, like Viola, and that, I mean, you normally don't see Callistophylas in this like curvy pointy shape, so I think it gets that from Viola. But I'm really excited for this plant to get bigger, because I mean it's only got 2, 4, 6, 8 leaves, but look at how big they are already. And this wasn't even a top cutting, it was like a mid cut. But this right here has been new growth in the last maybe couple of months. So I'm really excited to see this one take off. I'm gonna have to put it on a trellis soon because I don't want it to lose the giant size of the leaves. Usually if you don't give it some sort of support, or if it doesn't have something to grab onto, like a tree branch or something like that, then the leaves don't grow as big, at least for this one. So I'm probably going to trellis it right after this video just so that it continues to thrive. But I'm really looking forward to this one. And like I said, this is RHM 2021, which is Viola crossed with CALLISTOPHYLLA. I know, it's absolutely gorgeous. The next one, I absolutely love it, and I love it because I love when leaves sun stress, and especially when they have a red sun stress with a light vein color. And so this is my Hoya SPUT218, which I also started as a cutting from Rick. I had initially almost murdered it. I rooted the plant and then I repotted it. It was like doing super well, but I think I just put it outside way too quickly. I usually grow them inside a grow bin, a grow box, for until it's super well rooted, and even after it's been repotted, I keep it in that grow bin for a bit. And I think what happened and why I almost killed it is because I only kept it in the grow bin for maybe a week. Then I just moved it out here and I didn't keep up with watering as much as I should have for such a new prop. But I was able to save it, and that was maybe a month ago. And since then, literally all of this has been new growth. Everything you see from here on up has been new growth. And it's just doing really great. And I think because it's getting colder here in Florida, I think that's why the leaves are sun stressing this much, because truly it doesn't get that much, it doesn't get any direct sunlight. It doesn't even get high indirect sunlight. It's getting like about medium indirect. And look at how sun stressed these leaves are. And it's also cool because the back of the leaves are also sun stressing, which is absolutely stunning. So I'm really excited to grow this plant out. I'm probably also going to have to trellis this one soon. But because the leaves aren't so big and thick and heavy like the RHM I just showed you, I think this one can go a little bit longer, or may even do well without being trellised. So we'll see. So this next one I'm going to show you is one of my favorite Hoyas. I've only had it for a few months, and I started it as a cutting from Rick. It was already rooted, a small prop from Rick, and it's one of Surisa's hybrids. Is a Hoya SS2001, and I'm not going to try to tell you what the first Hoya in the name of the cross is. I will post it in the video, but it's crossed with CRASSIPETIOLA, and you can really see the CRASSIPETIOLA come through on this Hoya. It has the most beautiful foliage. I mean, how can you not like this Hoya? I feel like my favorite part about the leaf is just the dark veins that come out, and I believe that comes from the CRASSIPETIOLA. It's very characteristic of the CRASSIPETIOLA, and it came through on this Hoya. Absolutely beautiful. It's even sun stressing for me. You can see on the newer leaves, this one and this one, you can start to see some of that red come in, and I'm just really excited for this Hoya. If you haven't heard of Surisa before, she has her own Facebook group where she sells and ships her Hoyas from Thailand, and she creates some of the most beautiful Hoyas I've ever seen. Absolutely gorgeous blooms. So if you haven't checked her out, I highly suggest you join her Facebook group so you can see more from her. But yeah, Hoya SS20-01. So excited. The next one that I wanted to show you, don't fall. So these next ones have pretty large leaves, and they're quite a challenge to try to keep in place. They try to topple over all the time, so what I had to do is I had to put fishing wire around the shelf, so there's a line here and one at the top. So if there's a strong wind, the trellis won't completely fall out from inside the shelf, because there's been so many times where I get home and I come to check on my plants and there's a Hoya pot on the ground. It was just too top heavy and the wind knocked it over. And that's mainly because, you know, the foliage is so big and top heavy, but the pot is still so tiny on most of my Hoyas that it just kept happening over and over and over again. And I just like the aesthetic of the fishing line, because it doesn't have a, I mean, it's pretty transparent, so it doesn't really pull focus from the Hoyas. It's almost like you don't even notice it's there, but it's done a great job of keeping them from toppling over from too much wind or being just top heavy. But this one that I'm going to show you, it's a PATCHARAWALAI. I'll post the name on the video. Obviously, I can't pronounce any Hoya names, and that's okay. I think most of us just struggle with it anyways. I'm really good with my aroids because I feel like the names are slightly easier to say, but Hoyas, I'm just completely useless. But I've had this Hoya for, I want to say I've had it for a year. It started as two cuttings. You can see the two plugs in the bottom. They still have the original leaves. And it was a very slow grower for me at first. I think most big leaf Hoyas are slow at first until they're settled. But once it fully rooted and just gave me the first set of leaves on the new growth point, it has done just absolutely gorgeous for me. It's not a splashy Hoya, at least not mine, but I did treat with sulfur a few weeks ago, so it still has some of that sulfur on the leaves. But it's just absolutely stunning. The leaves are just huge. They've been growing. I mean, the size, look at this leaf. It's literally the size of my palm, if not bigger. And it tends to grow even bigger than this. I think one of my favorite parts about the foliage is just the way that each leaf is just really wavy. I mean, like, look at this leaf right here. It's absolutely stunning. It just grows really beautiful, especially when you trellis it. And I'm really excited to hopefully get this Hoya to bloom for me next year. I'm going to try really, really hard to get it to bloom because I'm just really looking forward to that bloom. So hopefully it will do that in the next year. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. But for now, I'm just really, really enjoying this crazy foliage that it's been putting out. The next one that I want to show you is my Hoya HAINANESIS. I've had this Hoya for, actually, let me pull another one that I want to show you, and that one is easy to get because it's right here. I have two Hoya HAINANESIS. I have one that I found locally, and then I have one that I ordered from this small local plant store in Georgia, I think it was. I can't remember. If I remember the name of the plant shop, I will post it in the description box at some point. But these are both Hoya HAINANESIS, but they just, to me, look different. And they've been growing side by side for over a year, but they just completely look different to me. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm a novice Hoya collector and I can't seem to find any reason to say that they're the same Hoya. But whatever, I keep them separate because to me they're two different ones, and I want to get them to bloom so I can figure out which one's the real HAINANESIS and which one was just mislabeled. But I really enjoy both of them. As you can tell, this one is way bigger. I've cut this Hoya like 5 times this year, but the leaves have gotten really huge. The veins are way darker than they are on this other Hoya. So, I mean, look at how big this leaf is right here. That's like almost the size of my palm, and the leaf is just absolutely stunning to me. Yes, it has sulfur stain on it, but that'll come off eventually. And the leaves are like thin They are malleable, so like they're not super hard to bend. It grows absolutely super fast. It's like a very prolific grower, whereas this one has been slower to grow. It doesn't have the dark veins that this other one has, but it has, I think, almost the same leaf shape. This one might be a little bit thicker, and it's more translucent when you look at it. So I'm really just looking forward to getting these two to bloom next year, so that I'm able to really determine what Hoya it is, because I couldn't tell you just by looking at the leaves. I've done a lot of research, and to me this one looks more like the HAINANESIS that I see online, and this one I have no idea what it is. But I could be completely wrong. I can't really tell you until I get them to bloom. But regardless, it's absolutely stunning, and I'm enjoying the process. I think even if I didn't know what Hoya this one was, or this one, I would just absolutely love them the same way, and keep growing them as much or as big as possible. I just wish I had a bigger space so that I didn't have to cut my Hoyas as often, and I could just like let them grow on their own, not be as neurotic as I am with clipping them onto trellises. But if I didn't do that, I think I would lose a lot of my Hoyas, or just not be able to take care of them properly, because what ends up happening is the vines grow through the holes in the wire shelving, and it grows like under and through. So by the time they go to grow a leaf, like it's super tangled in there, and the leaf can't grow properly, and then I can't take it out. So it's absolutely a nightmare. But I try to keep up with it and try to clip them as often as possible. Like I'll just randomly come out here on my lunch break and spend 30 minutes just clipping Hoyas. And to me, that's soothing. It's very relaxing. It doesn't feel like work, but I can only do that so much during the week. And there's so many of them, it's hard to keep track. I think if I was to guesstimate how many Hoyas I have in my porch, I have over 300 out here. So, and they all grow at pretty fast paces. They just try to go wherever they like. So they're gonna get away from me at some point or another. And all I can do is do my best. I really try really hard not to stress out about plant care and not to put too much pressure on myself, because you're supposed to enjoy it. You're not supposed to be stressing out about it. So I try to just do the best I can for them, while at the same time just being able to enjoy them. So I have one more Hoya that I wanted to show you before I just completely finish getting off track. And this one is a Hoya SP KAST. I think a lot of you probably already have this Hoya in your collection, because it was really popular last year. I mean, like everyone wanted a Hoya KAST. And I started this one as a cutting. I want to say it was about a year ago. I got it at one of Rick's sales here in St. Pete. And the reason I specifically remember this day, I noticed that this was the plug that he was selling was a mutated leaf. It was a single leaf, but it's split in half, the leaf. Like this is one leaf. It's just split down the middle for some reason, and I thought that was really cool, so I got it. I haven't gotten any more mutated leaves, but that's okay. I still have the original one. And I actually just dropped this Hoya as I was picking it to show you and broke a leaf. But shit happens, and I'll live. But look at this last leaf that it gave me. It's absolutely stunning. It's really long. And it'll get pretty thick as it grows older. As the leaf hardens, it gets pretty thick. But I haven't watered this Hoya in like 5 days, so it's telling me right now that it wants to be watered. It's too malleable. Like, I mean, it's not the thickest Hoya, but it shouldn't be this bendy. So I need to do some plant care either today or tomorrow, and get this plant some water, because it's telling me it wants some water. I can see the veins are sticking out too much. It just looks dehydrated. But I absolutely love my Hoya KAST. I've had 0 issues growing it, it has never been stunted. I've been able to cut it a couple times and been able to propagate it. So I am really excited to keep growing this one and to be able to bloom it hopefully in 2023. So stay tuned for all my plant blooms in the next year. I have learned a lot about fertilizing in 2022, especially when it comes to Hoyas, and I've had some pretty good successes with my last few experiments, so I'm hoping that pays off for next year. My goal for next year with Hoyas is to just do a better job of fertilizing, and I mean, I feel like fertilizing is half quality of the fertilizer that you use, but just as much as the consistency with which you fertilize your plants. Because, I mean, if you only fertilize your plant once every 2 months, at the end of the day, you're not gonna, even if you spent a gazillion dollars on your fertilizer and it's the best quality fertilizer, it's still too sparse, and it won't systematically create blooms constantly for you. So I'm just gonna try to do better about fertilizing them. It's just hard when you have over 300 Hoyas in such a compacted, tight space. I have to like stand out here for over an hour just like trying to get in between each Hoya to make sure that I fertilize the ones in the back, because if I had to move every Hoya out of the way in order to fertilize, I mean, just think about how quickly they tangle with each other. It would take me an entire day to be able to move every Hoya out to fertilize it individually. So I'm just gonna try extra hard to be better about fertilizing them next year. But for now, I'm just happy that I've been able to successfully grow so many, and they look absolutely healthy. They all seem to be doing well. I don't seem to have a pest problem. Maybe I have flat mites. Who knows? But other than that rare possibility, I think they're doing really healthy, and I'm just looking forward to more consistent fertilization next year so that I can get them all to bloom. With that being said, I'm going to show you the last plant that I wanted to show you, which is that weirdo that is not an aroid or a Hoya. It's actually a Euphorbia, and it is, I'm going to try to say this, a Euphorbia FRANCOISII CRASSICAULIS F. RUBRA. I'll write it in the video so that you can see it. But I got this plant. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I got this plant at a local plant show. I want to say it was about 1.5 years ago, and I went with my friend Amanda and Gerald, and it was one of the random shops that had a pop-up tent there that day. And when I brought it home, I waited about 3 to 4 days before I went to repot it. And when I went to repot it, I realized that it had absolutely 0 roots and it was actually rotting. So I had never had this type of Euphorbia before. I've only had like the I guess the cane type of Euphorbia. I don't even know if that's what what word you would use to describe them, but I've never had this type of Euphorbia before. I had no idea what I was doing with it. I messaged a friend that I know is really good with these types of succulents, my friend Rachel. I'll link her Instagram also, 'cause she has a beautiful collection of these. So I got help from her. I was able to like bring it back to life, and after, I want to say it took the plant maybe like 6 months to rehab itself, I guess with my help. And after those first like 6 months of the plant kind of like just reestablishing itself, it has just completely taken off. It's been a year of nonstop growth, and I mean, like, it doesn't look that huge, but Euphorbias tend to grow at a slower pace. So for me to have this big plant, I mean, it started out with a stem that was about this big, that was half rotted and it had no roots, and a lot of the leaves fell off, to now having, hopefully I can show you the inside of the actual, like, it has 3 growth points and the stem is so big now. And like, you can see new growth coming from the bottom and the sides, and I'm just really, really excited to see what this does. I don't know if you can tell, but the stem is hairy. Oh, it has a perlite in there. Hold on. Ah! The stem is really hairy. It's like fibrous. They're not thorns, they're very soft, and they are kind of yellow, but the stem is green, almost white in the bottom. It just grows absolutely beautiful. And the leaves have gotten so big, they're super textured, they're super wavy on the sides, as you can tell, like especially once they finish growing. They have a beautiful red, like maroon margin, and then the rib in the back of the leaf is also that dark color. So are the petioles, or that maroon dark color. But the veins are super light and just absolutely stunning. So I'm really, really excited to see this plant grow in the new year. I hopefully will be able to propagate it because my mom is absolutely obsessed with it. It's in a terracotta pot. It's in a like a super chunky mix. I had like really good cactus soil, and then I added perlite and a little bit of cocoa husks. And you know, like the slow release fertilizer granules. I think it's absolutely doing great in here. You can see the roots already starting to come out from the bottom, but I don't think I want to repot it yet. It's been in here for less than a year, so I think I want to wait at least until February to repot it again. I think it'll do fine in here until then. I don't want to mess with it while it's cold out. To be honest, I don't even know if the amount of cold that we get here in Florida would even do any damage to this plant. But for now, I'm just enjoying how well it's doing, and I don't want to mess with it. I want to enjoy it for a little bit longer. So hopefully you enjoyed my weird plant of the day, and maybe it sparks a new interest that you didn't know you had. So that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you found a new Hoya you didn't know you wanted, and hopefully you enjoyed my weird plant. I'm going to try to do one weird plant every time I do a Hoya video, just because I feel like we all need to broaden our plant horizons. There's so many beautiful plants out there that we shouldn't be narrow-minded with our collection, and we should try to venture out into things we haven't tried before. At the end of the day, it's a hobby and it's about enjoying it. So one of the ways in which I enjoy growing plants is just trying new varieties and species I've never tried before. I try to do as much research on them before, or even if I don't know anything about the plant and I just absolutely fall in love with it, the very first thing I do when I get home is like research everything about that plant, research its natural environment, and figure out ways in which I can try to replicate that environment at home. And then I just absolutely just stare at the plant for weeks. I try to come out every couple of days and just look at it, see if it's made any progress, see if there's any negative signs, and then just kind of watch it like a hawk until I see consistent growth and just consistent success with the plant. And sometimes I completely mess up the plant and I can't deal with it. It stresses me out too much. It's not worth the hassle. At that point, I try to give it away to a friend or to my family members, and they usually have good success with it. I don't know what it is, but sometimes I can't grow certain plants. So that ends today's ramble session. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will try to do another one for next Sunday, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye. Never mind, I always forget this part. Make sure you like and subscribe, comment any questions or any suggestions in the section below, and I'll see you next week.